When 3 Obsidian Lotus enforcers kicked down the heavy oak doors of Sacred Echo Cathedral that bitter winter morning, they thought the man in the titanium wheelchair would be an easy loose end to tie up. They didn't realize that beneath his facade of a broken veteran seeking redemption in prayer, Zephyr Rydrych was once Wraith, the most lethal ghost in the Shadow Wars. They were about to learn that in a house of worship, not all angels carried harps, and some demons wore badges of honor. Before we dive deeper into this chilling tale of vengeance and redemption, tell us where you're watching from. If this story sends shivers down your spine, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow's story will reveal a truth about human nature that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice. The winter dawn painted Ravencrest Hollow in shades of steel and frost, its pale light filtering through the ancient stained glass windows of Sacred Echo Cathedral. The colored light cast otherworldly patterns across the weathered oak pews, dancing over the solitary figure of Zephyr Rydrych, motionless in his titanium wheelchair. To the aging parishioners who had grown accustomed to his daily presence over the past 18 months, he was just another broken soldier seeking solace in faith. A decorated veteran who had sacrificed his legs in some distant desert war, now finding peace in the quiet sanctuary of prayer. His routine visits had become as much a part of Ravencrest Hollow's rhythm as the mournful toll of the cathedral bells that echoed through the snow-laden Montana Valley. The locals had developed a protective instinct toward him, offering sympathetic nods whenever he wheeled past the frost-covered town square. They saw what they expected to see, a warrior worn down by war's merciless tide, another casualty of foreign conflicts finding refuge in faith and routine. The titanium wheelchair, with its medical-grade cushioning and apparent basic mobility aids, only reinforced their assumptions. But this morning was different. As Zeph completed his apparent morning prayers, his highly tuned senses detected unfamiliar footfalls approaching the cathedral's ancient doors. 3 sets of boots crunching through fresh snow, moving with the deliberate rhythm of men who had done wet work before. Through the reflection in his specialized watch face, he caught glimpses of tactical gear poorly concealed under civilian winter clothing. The silver pendant of the Obsidian Lotus Collective gleamed at one man's throat like a frozen tear. They were getting sloppy, bringing their operations this close to civilian territory. The collective had been expanding aggressively across the northern territories, but infiltrating a quiet town like Ravencrest Hollow was unprecedented. Either they were growing overconfident, or something bigger was in play. Zeph maintained his posture of prayer, his mind calculating angles and distances. The cathedral's architecture, which he had meticulously memorized months ago, offered 23 potential exit routes and 15 optimal combat positions. The wheelchair itself, a masterpiece of covert engineering, contained enough firepower to level a small compound, but not yet. The mission parameters were clear. The cathedral was just phase 1 of a larger operation, and these 3 were merely the advance team for something much more significant. He needed them alive and talking. "Well, what do we have here?" A gravelly voice shattered the sacred silence. "Looks like someone's lost sheep rolled into the wrong house of God." Tarek the Phantom. Nycroft, the collective's northern enforcer, moved into Zeph's peripheral vision. His reputation for creative cruelty was well documented in classified files that Zeph had memorized long before accepting this deep cover assignment. The man treated torture like an art form, and his gallery was extensive. Zeph lifted his head slowly, allowing carefully calculated fear to creep into his expression, a technique he had mastered during years of covert operations. "Please," he whispered, his voice trembling with practiced precision. "I'm just here to pray." The 3 men spread out, unconsciously moving into a tactical formation that revealed their special forces background. Director Lyssandra's intel was correct. The Obsidian Lotus wasn't just recruiting common thugs anymore. These were trained operators, which made them both more dangerous and more valuable for intelligence. "Pray?" Tarek laughed, the sound echoing off the vaulted ceiling like breaking glass. "Maybe you should pray for better luck because you picked the wrong morning for confession." His gloved hand reached out, fingers brushing against the wheelchair's handle. "We've got some business to discuss with Brother Caius, and we don't need any witnesses, especially not one that can't run away." Zeph's fingers tightened imperceptibly on his armrests, which concealed enough weaponry to take down a small tactical team. The wheelchair itself was a masterpiece of covert engineering, designed by the agency's top technical specialists. What appeared to be medical equipment could transform into a mobile weapons platform in seconds. "Please," he begged again, adding a slight quiver to his lip, playing into their assumptions. "I won't tell anyone. First period. I can't even see very well since the explosion that took my legs." Tarek's face split into a cruel smile as he shared knowing looks with his companions. "Boys, let's help this poor brother find his way to a better place." He grabbed the wheelchair's handles roughly, clearly intending to dump Zeph onto the cold stone floor. What happened next would give the local parishioners something to whisper about for generations to come, though none were present to witness it. But for now, Zeph allowed himself to be manhandled, each indignity carefully noted, each face memorized. The time for prayer was over. Soon, very soon, the Obsidian Lotus Collective would learn that underestimating a disabled veteran was their last mistake. The morning sun had barely cleared the jagged peaks surrounding Ravencrest Hollow when Zeph began his daily reconnaissance routine. Each movement was meticulously calculated, a carefully choreographed dance designed to make his presence unremarkable, forgettable, safe. At precisely 7:15 a.m., he wheeled past Kiradwin's diner, where Maeve, the flame-haired owner, already had his coffee waiting. "Your usual, Zeph?" Maeve called out, her voice carrying its practiced mix of sympathy and maternal concern. The diner served as more than just a breakfast spot. It was a crucial intelligence hub. Ravencrest Hollow's residents gathered here every morning, sharing gossip and news that often contained vital information about collective movements. "Thanks, Maeve," he replied, maintaining the slight tremor in his voice that he'd cultivated as part of his cover. "Rough night. The phantom pains. They were bad." Each admission of weakness was calculated, another brushstroke in the portrait of vulnerability he painted for the town. The diner's strategic location offered clear sightlines to the town's main intersection, where the Obsidian Lotus's newest front business, a high-end weapons import company disguised as a sporting goods store, had opened 3 months ago. Zeph's specialized wheelchair contained sophisticated surveillance equipment that could intercept communications while appearing to be nothing more than standard medical technology. Maeve placed the steaming cup on his table, lingering as usual. "Those new fellows were in here again this morning," she whispered, referring to the collective members who had begun frequenting the diner. "The one in charge, Tarek, he was talking about some big shipment coming in, something about special equipment for the hunting season." Zeph allowed his hand to shake slightly as he lifted the coffee cup, playing into his role while his mind processed this intelligence. The collective's weapons shipments were always disguised as sporting goods. If they were moving something big into Ravencrest Hollow, it meant their operation was entering a new phase. "They frighten me," he confessed to Maeve, the lie coming easily after years of practice. In truth, he had already mapped out 17 different ways to neutralize Tarek and his entire team, using nothing but the contents of his wheelchair and the diner's kitchen implements. "Ever since Afghanistan, crowds make me nervous, especially men like that." The diner's bell chimed as Marshal Voss Thaladon entered, right on schedule. His arrival at 7:30 a.m. was another constant in Ravencrest Hollow's routine. The Marshal was a complicated piece in this operation. Zeph's surveillance had revealed regular cryptocurrency payments from the collective to his offshore accounts, but something about his body language suggested reluctance, perhaps even fear. "Morning, Zeph." Thaladon nodded, taking his usual seat at the counter, his eyes darting nervously to the sporting goods store across the street. "How are you holding up?" "One day at a time, Marshal," Zeph replied, his voice carrying just the right amount of weary resignation. Through his wheelchair's hidden surveillance system, he detected the burst of encrypted communications from Thaladon's phone to an unknown receiver. The collective's signature encryption pattern was unmistakable. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. After breakfast, Zeph's routine continued with methodical precision. He wheeled to the small bookshop run by the elderly Ms. Blackwood, a retired librarian who had become one of his closest allies in town, though she, like everyone else, knew only his cover story. The bookstore's second-floor window provided an excellent observation point for the warehouse district where the collective conducted most of their business. "The usual spot?" Ms. Blackwood asked as he entered, already moving to help him navigate between the narrow shelves. His wheelchair's width made the movement awkward, but that awkwardness was part of his cover. The specialized chair could actually maneuver through much tighter spaces with remarkable agility when needed. "Thanks," he smiled, allowing genuine warmth to show. In this business, the best covers contained elements of truth. His love of books wasn't feigned. During his long rehabilitation, literature had been his escape, his sanctuary. As Ms. Blackwood helped position him by the window, Zeph's trained eyes caught movement at the warehouse. A convoy of trucks was arriving, their logos matching a shipping company the collective had used in previous operations. Through his chair's enhanced optical systems, he could make out the subtle signs of armored modifications on the vehicles. "Big delivery today," Ms. Blackwood commented casually, arranging books nearby. "Third one this week. Strange for a small town like Ravencrest Hollow." Zeph nodded, his fingers brushing against the hidden compartment containing his encrypted satellite communication device. Director Lysandra needed to know about this escalation in activity. The collective never moved this much equipment without a specific purpose. His morning routine would normally continue with physical therapy at the local clinic, another carefully chosen location that offered surveillance opportunities. But after the confrontation at the cathedral, Zeph knew the pattern needed to change. The collective was accelerating their timeline, which meant something big was coming. As he prepared to leave the bookstore, his specialized watch vibrated with an encrypted alert. Director Lysandra's message was brief but crucial. "Asset compromised in Chicago. Collective moving key personnel to secure location. Ravencrest Hollow operation now primary focus. Maintain cover at all costs." Zeph thanked Ms. Blackwood and wheeled out into the morning sun, his mind already formulating new strategies. The quiet routine he had built in Ravencrest Hollow was about to shatter, but when it did, he would make sure the pieces fell exactly where he needed them. The cathedral bells tolled 9 o'clock, their sound carrying across the town square. In 2 hours, he was scheduled to meet Brother Caius for their weekly counseling session, another cover that provided access to the cathedral's bell tower and its commanding view of the collective's operations. But after this morning's encounter with Tarek and his men, that meeting would take on a very different character. Brother Caius Nephros's office in Sacred Echo Cathedral had always been a sanctuary of sorts, but as Zeph wheeled through the heavy wooden doors for their scheduled meeting, he could sense the shift in atmosphere. The morning's confrontation with Tarek and his men had changed something fundamental in the cathedral's peaceful dynamic. The former Special Forces operative turned man of faith looked up from his desk, his weathered face showing none of the usual warmth. His hands, normally steady after 20 years of service to both God and country, trembled slightly as he shuffled papers. "Zephyr Rydrych," he said, using the full name, their agreed-upon danger signal. "I wasn't certain you would come today." "Keeping to routines is important, brother," Zeph replied carefully, his enhanced hearing picking up multiple footsteps in the corridor outside. His wheelchair sensors detected 6 distinct heat signatures moving into position. Especially after this morning's incident. Brother Caius's eyes darted to the stained glass window, then back to Zeph. "They came to me after you left," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Made certain demands. The cathedral has always been neutral ground, but they—" He trailed off, color draining from his face as heavy boots approached his office. The door burst open before Zeph could respond. Tarek strode in, flanked by 7 collective soldiers, more than Zeph had detected outside. They were learning, adapting their tactics to avoid surveillance. Their improved operational security bore the hallmarks of professional military training. "Brother Caius?" Tarek's voice carried mock respect. "I see our friend decided to return. Very convenient." His men spread out, taking tactical positions around the office. Their weapons remained concealed, but their stance suggested immediate access to firearms. Zeph allowed his hands to shake, maintaining his cover of fearful vulnerability. "Please," he whispered. I told you I won't say anything. I just come here for counseling. My PTSD after Afghanistan." "Shut up," Tarek snapped, his previous facade of cruel playfulness replaced by cold efficiency. He turned to Brother Caius. "The shipment arrives in 1 hour. This location has been compromised. We need alternative arrangements." Zeph's mind raced, processing this new information. The collective never changed operational locations without significant cause. The compromised asset in Chicago must have revealed something crucial about their Ravencrest Hollow operation. "The cathedral cannot be involved in," Brother Caius began, but Tarek's hand shot out, grabbing the priest's collar. "The cathedral is already involved," Tarek snarled. "Has been since you accepted our first donation. The only question is whether you'll live long enough to make your next sermon." Zeph's fingers moved imperceptibly, accessing his wheelchair's hidden weapon systems. The office's dimensions, which he had memorized months ago, offered limited tactical options. 7 hostiles in close quarters plus Tarek with Brother Caius in a vulnerable position. The situation demanded action, but exposure of his true capabilities would compromise months of deep cover work. "You're hurting him," he said, letting tears fill his eyes. "Please, he's a man of God." Tarek released the priest with a shove, turning his attention to Zeph. "You know what's interesting?" He moved closer, looming over the wheelchair. "We did some checking after this morning. Called some contacts in the VA. Nobody remembers a Zephyr Rydrych losing his legs in Afghanistan." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Zeph maintained his frightened expression, but his mind shifted into combat calculation mode. They had run his cover identity, sloppy tradecraft that had exposed its weaknesses. The question was, how deep had they dug? I don't understand," he stammered. "My records are all there. Dr. Morrison at the VA clinic." "Dr. Morrison has never heard of you." Tarek's smile was predatory now. "In fact, the more we looked, the less we found. It's like you appeared in Ravencrest Hollow out of nowhere. Very interesting for a disabled veteran, don't you think?" Zeph's options were rapidly diminishing. The mission parameters prioritized maintaining cover, but with his identity compromised, the secondary protocol came into effect: protect the operation at all costs. "The thing about deep cover operations," Tarek continued, confirming Zeph's worst fears about the collective's intelligence capabilities, "is that they rely on perfect documentation. One small flaw, one missing detail." He reached for Zeph's wheelchair's armrest. What happened next would be talked about in Ravencrest Hollow for years to come. As Tarek's fingers touched the chair, Zeph made his decision. The mission was compromised, but he could still control how much information the collective received about his true capabilities. Brother Caius would later swear he only saw a blur of movement. The wheelchair, which had seemed so cumbersome in the small office, suddenly became an instrument of precision violence. Zeph's first strike caught Tarek completely off guard. Decades of specialized training condensed into one explosive moment. The real question wasn't whether he could neutralize 7 trained operatives in close quarters. The question was how much of his true skill level should he reveal. Each technique he demonstrated would provide the collective with more data about his capabilities. As Tarek's men reached for their weapons, Zeph prepared to give them a carefully curated demonstration of exactly what a disabled veteran could do. The sacred silence of the cathedral was about to be broken by a very different kind of prayer, one written in the language of precise, calculated violence that he had spent years perfecting. After all, not all angels carried harps, and some demons wore badges of honor earned in the shadow wars that most people never knew existed. The cathedral was about to witness a revelation that would shake its very foundations. In the aftermath of the cathedral office confrontation, Zeph maneuvered his wheelchair through Ravencrest Hollow's back alleys, his movements deliberate and unhurried despite the urgency of his situation. The winter sun cast long shadows across the snow-covered ground, perfect for surveillance detection. He had left 7 of the collective's operatives incapacitated in Brother Caius's office, but he had done so with surgical precision, revealing only a fraction of his true capabilities. The encrypted communicator hidden in his chair's armrest vibrated. Director Lysandra's message was brief. Compromise assessment required. Full report in 1 hour. Safe House Delta activated. Zeph allowed himself a grim smile. Safe House Delta was the nuclear option, a facility specifically designed for situations where deep cover was no longer viable. As he made his way to his modest apartment on Ravencrest Hollow's outskirts, a location chosen for its strategic value rather than comfort, his mind drifted to the path that had led him here, to this moment of calculated vulnerability. The memories weren't part of his assumed identity. They were the foundation of who he had become. 8 years ago, he had been Captain Zephyr Rydrych, commanding an elite special operations unit in the Hindu Kush Mountains. His team had been tracking a high-value target, an arms dealer whose signature weapons had claimed dozens of American lives. The intelligence was solid, their approach perfect, but something had felt wrong. The target location, a seemingly abandoned compound nestled in the mountains, was too quiet, too still. Zeph had ordered his team to hold position while he conducted a closer reconnaissance. That decision saved their lives but changed his forever. The compound had been rigged with an advanced explosive device, something far more sophisticated than their intelligence had suggested. When the explosion came, Zeph had just enough time to signal his team before the world erupted in fire and shrapnel. He remembered the hospital ceiling in Germany, the doctors' voices discussing amputation, the long months of rehabilitation. But what no one knew, what even his own team had never discovered, was that during those moments trapped in the burning compound, he had seen something crucial. The arms dealer hadn't been working alone. He had American support, someone providing classified technical specifications. That discovery had caught the attention of a very specific branch of intelligence services. They approached him during rehabilitation, after the medals had been awarded and the official story had been written. Director Lysandra Calderash had visited his room late one night, bringing an offer that would change everything. "Your military career may be over, Captain Rydrych," Lysandra had said, "but your greatest service to your country is just beginning." She paused, studying him with penetrating intelligence. "What if I told you that your injury wasn't just bad luck? What if it was part of something bigger?" The agency had been tracking a shadow organization that had infiltrated multiple criminal enterprises, including the Obsidian Lotus Collective. This organization, known only as the Citadel, had been placing operatives in key positions, providing advanced weapons technology to carefully chosen groups. The arms dealer had been one of their assets, and Zeph's discovery had inadvertently revealed a small thread in their vast network. "We need someone they won't suspect," Lysandra had explained. "Someone they've already dismissed as a threat. Your injury isn't a weakness, Captain Rydrych. It's an opportunity." The training that followed was unlike anything from his military experience. Zeph learned to transform his disability into a tactical advantage, mastering combat techniques specifically designed for his new circumstances. The wheelchair became more than a mobility aid. It became a sophisticated weapons platform designed by the agency's engineers to conceal an arsenal within its seemingly medical exterior. But the physical training was only the beginning. Zeph learned the art of deep cover operations, how to layer identities within identities. He became an expert in appearing vulnerable, in using people's assumptions against them. The pitying looks, the dismissive glances, each became a tool in his arsenal. For 3 years he had tracked the Citadel's movements, following their trail through various criminal organizations. The pattern was always the same. They would approach ambitious criminal enterprises, offer advanced technology and tactical support, and then use those groups for some larger purpose that remained unclear. The Obsidian Lotus Collective was their latest partnership, and Ravencrest Hollow was somehow key to their plans. Zeph's daily visits to Sacred Echo Cathedral weren't just for maintaining his cover. The cathedral's position overlooking the town square gave him perfect surveillance angles on multiple collective operations. He had watched them slowly infiltrate the quiet community, using legitimate businesses as fronts, gradually building their presence while the townspeople remained oblivious. But this morning's confrontation wasn't part of the plan. The collective soldiers' presence in the cathedral suggested something had changed. They were accelerating their timeline, taking risks they had previously avoided. Zeph's hand brushed against the reinforced frame of his wheelchair, feeling the reassuring presence of his hidden equipment. Everything he needed was within reach: specialized weapons, communication devices, tactical gear, all disguised as medical necessities. Director Lysandra's words from their last briefing echoed in his mind. The Citadel is getting bolder. They're planning something big, and the Obsidian Lotus is just one piece of the puzzle. Find out what they're planning, but remember, your cover is your greatest weapon. The moment they realize what you really are, everything we've worked for is compromised. As Zeph reached his apartment building, his tactical display showed multiple heat signatures converging on his position. The collective was moving fast, but not fast enough. They still didn't understand what they were dealing with. Years of hiding his capabilities, of letting people underestimate him, had taught Zeph one crucial lesson. Sometimes the best way to maintain a cover was to reveal just enough truth to make the lies more convincing. Inside his apartment, Zeph activated the specialized security systems disguised as medical monitoring equipment. The collective would be scrambling to analyze what had happened at the cathedral, trying to understand exactly what kind of operative they were dealing with. He'd given them enough to know he was more than he appeared, but not enough to reveal his full training or capabilities. His fingers moved across hidden panels in his wheelchair, accessing sophisticated surveillance data collected over months. The collective's operation in Ravencrest Hollow was larger than even the agency had initially suspected. The sporting goods store, the warehouse deliveries, the corrupted local officials, all pointed to something unprecedented in scale. Activation sequence initiated, his chair's secure system announced as he connected to the agency's encrypted network. The tactical display hidden in his wheelchair's control panel came to life, showing real-time movement of collective forces throughout Ravencrest Hollow. They were mobilizing, but not in the pattern he had expected. Director, Zeph spoke into his secured communicator. They're not running. They're consolidating positions throughout the town. The compromised cover isn't forcing them to abandon the operation. Because Ravencrest Hollow is too important to their plans, Lysandra's voice came through with crystal clarity. The Chicago asset confirmed our worst fears before he was eliminated. The Obsidian Lotus Collective isn't just a front for weapons distribution. The Citadel is using them for something far more dangerous. Zeph's tactical display highlighted multiple new heat signatures converging on the warehouse district. This morning's shipment, he noted, studying the patterns. It wasn't just weapons, was it? No. Lysandra's tone was grim. According to our intelligence, the Citadel has developed a new type of combat enhancement system. Something that can turn ordinary soldiers into enhanced operators. The collective members are their test subjects. The pieces clicked into place. The military precision he'd observed in Tarek's men, the escalating tactical sophistication. The Citadel wasn't just training them. They were augmenting them, creating an army of enhanced operators loyal only to them. Zeph's fingers moved rapidly across his chair's hidden console, accessing deeper levels of surveillance data. The power consumption patterns in the warehouse district had changed dramatically over the past week. They were drawing enough energy to support major medical operations. How many? He asked, already calculating tactical scenarios. At least 30 collective members have undergone the procedure, Lysandra replied. The enhancement system makes them faster, stronger, and completely under the Citadel's control. The side effects include increased aggression and decreased fear response. They're creating perfect soldiers, Zeph, and Ravencrest Hollow is their proving ground. Zeph's mind raced through the implications. His cover was blown, but that could work to his advantage. The Citadel would be focused on him now, trying to understand how a supposedly disabled veteran had taken down 7 of their enhanced operators. The cathedral confrontation wasn't random, he realized, analyzing the morning's events with new understanding. They didn't just discover flaws in my cover, they were testing me, wanting to see how I would react under pressure. Correct, Lysandra confirmed. The Citadel has suspected someone was watching their Ravencrest Hollow operation. You just confirmed they're dealing with a highly trained operative. The question is, how do we use that to our advantage? Through his apartment's reinforced windows, Zeph observed more collective forces moving into position. Their movements displayed the enhanced precision he now recognized as a sign of the Citadel's augmentation. They were sealing off the town, preparing for something big. "They know I'm here now," Zeph said, his voice carrying steel determination. "So let's give them something to chase. While they're hunting me, a tactical team can move in and—" "Negative," Lysandra interrupted. "We can't risk a direct assault. If even one of their enhanced operators escapes, the Citadel's program goes public. We need a surgical operation, and you're already in position." Zeph understood the implications. He would be going up against neurally enhanced soldiers alone, with no backup and limited resources. The odds were nearly impossible. But then again, everyone had always underestimated what a man in a wheelchair could do. "I'll need schematics of their enhancement system," he said, already formulating a plan. "If we can't match their enhanced capabilities, we'll need to find a way to turn those advantages against them." As he spoke, his tactical display showed more collective forces moving into position throughout Ravencrest Hollow. They were sealing off the town, preparing for something big. The Citadel's endgame was approaching, and Zeph knew he was now the only person positioned to stop it. "One more thing, Director," he added, accessing his chair's most classified systems. "Protocol Omega authorization required. It's time to show them what this chair can really do." Protocol Omega transformed Zeph's wheelchair from a sophisticated surveillance platform into something far more lethal. As he initiated the activation sequence, hidden panels throughout the chair reconfigured themselves, revealing advanced weapon systems and tactical interfaces that had remained dormant during his months of deep cover operations. The transformation wasn't just technical. Zeph's entire demeanor shifted as he prepared for the next phase of his operation. The fearful, trembling veteran facade fell away, replaced by the cold precision of a trained operative. He had spent months letting the Citadel and their collective puppets think they understood his limitations. Now it was time to show them how wrong they were. But carefully, strategically. Each revelation of his capabilities would need to be measured, calculated for maximum effect, while still maintaining enough mystery to keep them off balance. The question wasn't whether he could take down their enhanced operators. It was how to do it in a way that would lead him to the Citadel itself. "Protocol Omega activation complete," his chair's AI system announced. "All combat systems online. Enhanced defensive measures activated." The chair's entire structure had changed, its medical appearance maintained but its capabilities now fully accessible. The wheels had transformed to incorporate advanced propulsion systems, while the frame contained enough firepower to engage multiple enhanced opponents simultaneously. Zeph's tactical display showed collective forces establishing a perimeter around his apartment building. They were being cautious, positioning their enhanced operators at key points while regular forces maintained surveillance. The Citadel's influence was evident in their methodology. This was no ordinary collective operation. "Director," Zeph spoke into his secured communicator. "Commencing Phase 1. Time to let them think they've got me running scared." Zeph began systematically preparing his apartment, setting up what would appear to be a hasty evacuation. Empty medication bottles scattered across tables, medical documents left in disarray, a wheelchair ramp deployed at the back entrance, all carefully staged to suggest panic. His chair's enhanced sensors detected multiple targeting systems focused on his position. Perfect. Let them think they had him under observation. "Starting the show," he announced, then triggered a prepared sequence of events. His apartment's lights began flickering erratically while his medical alert system activated, sending out distress signals to anyone monitoring the building. It would appear that a disabled veteran was experiencing a medical emergency while trying to escape. The response was immediate. Radio chatter picked up by his chair's surveillance systems revealed increasing excitement among the collective forces. They thought they had him trapped and vulnerable, exactly as he planned. "Movement at your 3 o'clock, Lysandra warned. "Enhanced operator approaching. Energy signature suggests advanced augmentation configuration." Zeph allowed himself a small smile as he activated the next phase of his plan. His chair's systems began broadcasting specific electromagnetic frequencies that research suggested would interfere subtly with the Citadel's enhancement technology. Not enough to disable their enhanced operators, but enough to create doubt, uncertainty, and most importantly, overconfidence. "Target is mobile," he heard through intercepted communications. "Medical systems failing. Move in and secure." The first enhanced operator breached his apartment's outer door exactly as predicted. Zeph had already moved to his prepared position, his chair's systems running silent. The operator moved with inhuman speed and precision, but his movements betrayed the enhancement's influence. Too perfect, too calculated, lacking human adaptability. "Subject located," the operator transmitted. "Appears to be experiencing medical distress. Moving to secure." Zeph waited until precisely the right moment before triggering his apartment's specialized defense systems. Not lethal force, that would reveal too much too soon, but carefully calibrated responses designed to create a very specific impression. Flashbang devices modified to affect neural enhancement sensitivity, smoke generators that would challenge enhanced visual processing. The operator staggered, his augmentation struggling to compensate for the sensory overload. This was the critical moment. Zeph maneuvered his chair through the chaos, making his escape appear desperate and clumsy, while actually following a precisely planned route. "Director," he transmitted as he reached the building's rear exit, "Phase 1 proceeding as planned. The Citadel's enhanced operators are performing exactly as predicted. Their augmentations make them stronger, faster, but also more predictable. They're relying on programmed responses rather than human intuition." He emerged into the winter air, playing the role of a panicked fugitive while his chair's systems gathered crucial data about the enhancement's operational parameters. Each encounter, each reaction provided more information that would be vital for the operation's next phase. "Keep them focused on the chase," Lysandra instructed. "The longer they think they're hunting you, the less they'll notice what you're really doing." Zeph wheeled rapidly through Ravencrest Hollow's snow-covered streets, his path seemingly erratic, but actually taking him past key surveillance points. Each movement was calculated to draw attention while his chair's systems mapped the Citadel's enhancement network. The warehouse district loomed before him as he executed his calculated retreat, its industrial silhouette stark against the darkening winter sky. His wheelchair moved silently through the shadows, its enhanced systems gathering crucial intelligence about the enhancement network. The pursuing operators maintained their distance, exactly as he had anticipated. Their programmed tactical responses made them formidable but predictable. "Director," Zeph transmitted through his secured channel. "Approaching primary target. Enhanced operator signals are intensifying. The augmentation hub must be nearby." His chair's specialized sensors detected increasing electromagnetic activity centered on the largest warehouse structure. Lysandra's response came through with digital clarity. Thermal imaging shows significant power consumption in sub-level 3. They're preparing for mass enhancement procedures. Timeline has accelerated. Zeph positioned himself behind a storage container, his chair's systems recording the movement patterns of the Citadel's security forces. The enhanced operators patrolled with mechanical precision, their augmentations creating perfectly coordinated coverage patterns. But perfection, he knew, was often the greatest weakness. "Confirming 19 enhanced signatures," he reported, analyzing the data streaming across his tactical display. "Their patrol patterns suggest automated response protocols. The enhancements are networked, sharing tactical data in real time." The warehouse complex had been transformed into a sophisticated medical facility. Through his enhanced optics, Zeph could see specialized equipment being moved through secured corridors. The Citadel wasn't just creating enhanced operators. They were preparing for mass production. "Zeph," Lysandra's voice carried unusual urgency. "We've decoded more of the Chicago asset's final transmission. The enhancement program isn't just about creating enhanced soldiers. The Citadel is developing a way to control them remotely. Once the augmentations are installed, the operators become nothing more than networked weapons." The implications were staggering. The Obsidian Lotus collective members weren't just test subjects. They were prototypes for a larger operation. The Citadel was creating an army of remotely controlled enhanced operators, using Ravencrest Hollow as their proving ground. Zeph initiated his chair's advanced infiltration protocols, the systems that had been disguised as medical equipment now revealing their true capabilities. Adaptive camouflage activated, allowing him to blend with the industrial environment while maintaining full mobility. Beginning infiltration sequence, he transmitted. The enhanced operators are maintaining their pursuit pattern, but their coordination suggests centralized control. If we can locate their command hub, we might be able to disrupt the entire network. His chair moved with practiced precision through the warehouse complex's outer security perimeter. Years of training had taught him how to use his apparent disability to his advantage. Security systems were typically designed to detect threats at standing height. Few were calibrated to notice a wheelchair's unique profile. Movement at your 4 o'clock, Lysandra warned. Enhanced operator approaching. Energy signature suggests command-level augmentation configuration. Zeph remained motionless as the operator passed within meters of his position, his chair's sensors capturing detailed readings of the enhancement's operational parameters. Each enhanced operator provided more data about the Citadel's control systems. Director, he transmitted after the operator moved past. These enhancements aren't just augmenting their capabilities, they're rewriting basic human responses. The operators show no fatigue, no hesitation, but they've lost something crucial: human adaptability. His infiltration continued methodically, each movement calculated to appear random to the enhanced operator's tactical algorithms while actually positioning him closer to the facility's core. The Citadel's security systems were sophisticated, but fundamentally flawed. They relied too heavily on predictable patterns and programmed responses. Approaching sub-level access point, Zeph reported, his chair's systems detecting increased security measures. The enhancement signals are strongest here. They must be conducting procedures nearby. Suddenly, his tactical display lit up with multiple warnings. The enhanced operator's patrol patterns had shifted, becoming more aggressive. Something had triggered their combat protocols. Zeph were detecting a power surge in the facility. Lysandra's voice was tense. They're initiating something big, multiple enhancements activating simultaneously. Through his enhanced optics, Zeph observed a disturbing scene. Collective members were being led into the facility, not as prisoners but as volunteers. The Citadel had convinced them that enhancement was an evolution, an advancement, when in reality, it was enslavement. They're accelerating their timeline, he analyzed, watching the procession. Something spooked them. The cathedral confrontation wasn't just about exposing my cover. They're rushing to complete their enhancement program before something happens. His chair's systems continued gathering crucial data about the enhancement network. Each transmission, each signal pattern revealed more about the Citadel's control mechanisms. But time was running out. Once the enhancements were installed, the collective members would become nothing more than extensions of the Citadel's will. Director, Zeph transmitted, his voice carrying steel determination. Requesting authorization for Protocol Lambda. It's time to show them what happens when they underestimate the wrong disabled veteran. As he awaited the response, Zeph's fingers moved across his chair's tactical interface, preparing for what would come next. The Citadel had created an army of enhanced operators, but they were about to learn that true combat effectiveness couldn't be programmed. It had to be earned, one adaptation at a time. Protocol Lambda authorization came through just as Zeph's sensors detected a significant change in the enhancement network. The enhanced operators' movements had become more aggressive, more coordinated, suggesting the Citadel had initiated some form of centralized control. Protocol authorization granted, Lysandra transmitted. But be aware, we've uncovered something disturbing in the Chicago data. The enhancements aren't just for control. They're collecting data, learning from each enhanced operator's experiences. The Citadel is building a collective combat intelligence. Zeph processed this information as he maneuvered through the facility's sub-level corridors, his wheelchair's adaptive camouflage systems keeping him virtually invisible to standard security measures. But the enhanced operators' augmentations posed a different challenge. They weren't just looking with their eyes. They were sharing tactical data across a networked consciousness. Accessing primary medical bay, he reported, his chair's systems interfacing with the facility's security network. Through reinforced observation windows, he could see the Citadel's scientists preparing for another round of enhancement procedures. The scene was clinical, methodical, and deeply disturbing. The medical bay contained dozens of specialized surgical stations, each equipped with enhancement installation equipment. But it was the central control system that caught Zeph's attention. A massive quantum computing array dominated the center of the room, its processors handling the enormous data load generated by the enhancement network. "Director," he transmitted, "I'm seeing something unexpected. The quantum system isn't just managing the enhancements, it's evolving them, adapting their protocols based on combat data. Each enhanced operator is contributing to a growing tactical database." "That confirms our worst fears," Lysandra replied. "The Citadel isn't just building an army, they're creating a distributed combat intelligence. Each enhanced operator becomes part of a learning network. The more they fight, the more the system learns." Zeph's chair detected increased enhancement activity nearby. Through his enhanced optics, he observed Tarek entering a surgical station, accompanied by Citadel scientists. The collective enforcer's expression was eager, almost zealous. He truly believed he was about to be elevated to something greater. "They're starting another procedure," he reported, his chair's systems recording every detail. "But something's different about this enhancement. The power readings are significantly higher than previous installations." "Zeph," Lysandra's voice carried urgent warning. "We've decoded more of the quantum system's protocols. This isn't just another enhancement. They're creating a local control node. Tarek isn't going to be just another enhanced operator. They're turning him into a subnet commander." The implications hit Zeph with chilling clarity. The Citadel was creating a hierarchical network of enhanced operators, with certain individuals serving as local control nodes. It wasn't just about individual enhancement anymore. They were building a militarized hive mind. Through his chair's surveillance systems, Zeph observed the procedure's effects. Tarek's neural patterns were being synchronized with the quantum network, his individual consciousness subsumed into something larger. The Citadel wasn't just taking control of his body, they were rewriting his very identity. "Director, the quantum system is advancing beyond our initial assessments," he transmitted, analyzing the data streams. "Each enhancement procedure adds to its capabilities. It's not just learning tactical data, it's learning how to better control its operators. The system is evolving itself." Suddenly, his chair's sensors detected a massive power surge. The quantum system's processing patterns changed, becoming more complex, more organized. On his tactical display, he could see the enhanced operators' movements shifting, becoming more synchronized. "The network is achieving coherence," Lysandra's voice was grim. "The individual enhancements are linking into a unified system. If they complete this integration, they'll have a distributed combat intelligence with enhanced human assets. An army that thinks and acts as one," Zeph finished, "controlled by the Citadel's quantum system." The medical bay erupted with activity as Tarek's procedure reached its culmination. The enhancement indicators showed full integration, but something was different about his responses. His movements weren't just enhanced, they were perfectly coordinated with the facility's security systems, the other operators, everything. "Zeph, we're detecting similar procedures being initiated across multiple Citadel facilities," Lysandra reported. "Ravencrest Hollow isn't just a test site, it's the prototype. Once they perfect the system here, they can replicate it anywhere." The medical bay's harsh lighting cast stark shadows across the quantum computing array as Zeph observed Tarek's full integration into the Citadel's enhancement network. His chair's systems were recording unprecedented levels of neural synchronization. They weren't just enhancing operators anymore, they were creating something entirely new. "Director," Zeph transmitted, analyzing the complex data streams, "the enhancement network has achieved a new level of integration. The enhanced operators aren't just sharing combat data anymore. They're functioning as extensions of an evolved tactical consciousness." "Our analysis confirms it," Lysandra's response carried measured urgency. Dr. Aldrich Sinover, the Citadel's chief architect, has created something beyond our initial assessments. The network isn't just controlling the operators, it's developing its own understanding of combat dynamics. Through his chair's enhanced sensors, Zeph observed the quantum core's energy signatures pulsing in perfect synchronization with the enhancements, each pulse carrying complex command protocols that updated and optimized the enhanced operator's tactical responses in real time. Fascinating, isn't it? A new voice resonated through the facility's communication systems. The quantum displays flickered, revealing the face of Aldrich Sinover himself, the Citadel's mastermind, presumed dead in a laboratory accident 5 years ago. I've been looking forward to meeting the operative who's been causing my network such fascinating adaptation challenges. Zeph maintained his tactical position, his chair's systems recording every aspect of this interaction. Dr. Sinover, the official report said you died when your enhancement research went wrong. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. Sinover smiled, his image showing him seated in what appeared to be an advanced control center. Though I suppose you'd understand something about using presumed limitations to your advantage, wouldn't you? The implications struck Zeph with crystal clarity. You're the architect, the enhancement program, the quantum network. This was all your design. Very good, Sinover nodded approvingly. But you've only glimpsed the surface. The Citadel isn't just creating enhanced operators. We're evolving humanity itself. Each enhancement, each quantum network connection, brings us closer to true human optimization. Through his chair's enhanced sensors, Zeph detected subtle changes in the facility's security protocols. The enhanced operators weren't just standing down, they were reconfiguring into new tactical formations. Director, he transmitted on a secured channel. Dr. Sinover's control over the quantum network appears absolute. The enhanced operators are being reprogrammed in real time. Ah, still reporting to Lysandra. Sinover's voice carried amused condescension. Your loyalty is admirable, but misplaced. Did she tell you why we chose Ravencrest Hollow? Why we specifically positioned our operation where we knew her agency would be watching? Sam's tactical display showed multiple enhanced operators moving to new positions but not to attack. They were creating a perimeter, containing rather than engaging. You wanted us to see the enhancement program, Zeph realized, pieces clicking into place. You wanted the agency to know about the enhanced operators. Precisely. Sinover's smile widened. Every attempt to counter our operations, every tactical adaptation you've demonstrated, it's all been fed into the quantum network's learning algorithms. Your impressive combat skills, especially your unique wheelchair-based techniques, have provided invaluable data for optimizing our control protocols. Zeph, we're detecting massive data transfers from the facility's quantum core. Lysandra cut through on the secured channel. He's not just talking to you, he's actively analyzing your every response. Your wheelchair's advanced systems are particularly interesting, Sinover continued. The agency's adaptive combat division always did excellent work, but imagine those capabilities enhanced by direct neural interface connection. No more mechanical controls, no more external systems, pure neural integration between operator and equipment. The implications were staggering. You're not just building an army, Zeph stated, his mind racing through the possibilities. You're creating a new type of warfare. Soldiers neurally linked to their equipment, sharing tactical data through a quantum network. Evolution demands innovation, Sinover replied. Humanity has reached its physical limits. The next step requires direct neural optimization. Your own adaptations prove this. You've transcended conventional combat limitations through necessary evolution. We are simply accelerating that process. Zeph's chair detected new power signatures emanating from the quantum core. The enhancement network was reconfiguring, implementing protocols that hadn't been active before. Of course, Sinover continued, your particular adaptations present an intriguing opportunity. We've never had a chance to study how our enhancements might augment an operator who has already evolved beyond standard tactical parameters. The enhanced operators began moving again, but their approach was different now. They weren't trying to capture or eliminate. They were herding, manipulating space to limit options. "Director," Zeph transmitted. "He's not just observing. This entire confrontation is some kind of combat analysis program. The quantum network is using our engagement to develop new tactical protocols." "Correct again," Siniver smiled. "Every movement you make, every adaptation you demonstrate helps us perfect our control systems. The agency sent their best operative to investigate us, and in doing so gave us exactly what we needed. A combat specialist who had already evolved beyond normal human limitations." Zeph's tactical display showed more enhanced operators entering the facility. Their enhancements synchronized to new frequencies. The quantum network was implementing everything it had learned from their previous encounters, creating a constantly evolving tactical challenge. "The question," Siniver concluded, his expression showing genuine scientific curiosity, "is whether you'll continue providing valuable combat data as an external subject, or accept the opportunity to experience enhancement yourself. Imagine your exceptional capabilities augmented by direct quantum network integration. You could transcend every remaining limitation." As Zeph processed this offer, his chair's systems continued analyzing the quantum network's evolution. The architect hadn't just created a sophisticated combat system, he had engineered an entirely new paradigm of human enhancement. The real question was, how do you fight an enemy that learns from every resistance you offer? Dr. Siniver's offer hung in the air as Zeph assessed his tactical position. The enhanced operators maintained their containment formation, their enhancements now operating on frequencies specifically calibrated to counter his chair's systems. But the architect's revelation had provided something crucial: understanding. "Director," Zeph transmitted through his secured channel. "Siniver didn't just survive that laboratory accident. He used it as cover to advance his research without oversight. The enhancement program isn't a weapons project. It's his vision of human evolution." "Confirmed," Lysandra responded. "We're detecting similar quantum network installations being activated across multiple locations. Ravencrest Hollow was never the primary facility. It was a training ground. Siniver was testing his control protocols against an opponent he knew could challenge them." Zeph's chair detected subtle changes in the quantum network's operational patterns. The enhanced operators weren't just connected anymore. They were being optimized based on all the combat data collected during their encounters. Each moment of resistance provided the Citadel with more tactical information. "Your analysis is impressive," Siniver's voice carried through the facility's systems, "but incomplete. The quantum network isn't just collecting combat data. It's developing a comprehensive tactical consciousness. Every engagement, every adaptation contributes to its evolution. Your remarkable capabilities have helped us overcome crucial limitations in our control protocols." Sam initiated a specialized scanning sequence, using his chair's advanced systems to probe deeper into the quantum network architecture. "You needed someone who had already adapted beyond normal parameters," he stated, understanding flowering. "The enhanced operators were too predictable, too bound by conventional tactical programming." "Precisely," Siniver confirmed. "Our initial enhancements could augment physical capabilities, share tactical data, but they couldn't replicate true combat intuition. Your wheelchair combat techniques, developed through necessary adaptation, showed us how to evolve beyond standard military doctrine." Through his chair's tactical display, Zeph observed the enhanced operators implementing new movement patterns. They weren't just sharing data anymore. They were operating as extensions of an evolving combat intelligence. The quantum network was learning, adapting, becoming something beyond its original programming. "Director," Zeph transmitted, "we need to adjust our approach. Conventional tactical responses are just giving the quantum network more data to process. We need to introduce variables it can't predict or control." "Activating sleeper assets throughout Ravencrest Hollow," Lysandra responded immediately. "Security teams Sierra through Tango are in position, each unit equipped with specialized countermeasures designed to disrupt enhancement frequencies." The architect's image showed genuine interest as he observed their preparations. "Impressive contingency planning," he acknowledged, "but your reinforcements are already accounted for. The quantum network has been analyzing your agency's tactical protocols since we first detected their presence in Ravencrest Hollow. Every potential response has been calculated. Zeph's chair systems detected multiple new signals as hidden Citadel facilities throughout the town activated. Enhanced operators emerged from concealed positions, their enhancements synchronized to counter specific threat scenarios. The architect hadn't just prepared for resistance, he had engineered the entire situation to test his control protocols under real combat conditions. Your combat teams are equipped with enhancement countermeasures, Zephyr continued, his voice carrying scientific satisfaction. But those countermeasures were developed based on our early prototypes. The quantum network has evolved far beyond those initial limitations. As if to demonstrate this point, the enhanced operators began moving in patterns that defied conventional tactical analysis. Their enhancements allowed them to coordinate in ways that no standard military unit could match, implementing strategies developed through quantum processing of combat data. But you've overlooked something crucial, Zeph transmitted, activating new protocols in his chair's systems. Something your quantum network can't accurately predict or control. And what might that be? Zephy's curiosity seemed genuine. Human choice, Zeph replied, initiating a sequence he had prepared for this exact scenario. Your enhanced operators are connected to your network, sharing tactical data, moving with perfect coordination. But they've lost something essential: the ability to choose their own actions. Through his chair's tactical display, Zeph could see agency teams moving into position throughout Ravencrest Hollow. Each unit was equipped with specialized equipment, but more importantly, each operator had been selected for their ability to think independently, to adapt beyond standard protocols. Director, he transmitted, implementing Protocol Omega Variant 3. The quantum network expects us to respond with coordinated tactical strikes. Instead, we're going to show them what truly independent operators can do. Lysandra's acknowledgement came with additional data. Teams are in position. Each unit has been briefed to operate autonomously, implementing randomized tactical responses that the quantum network can't predict through pattern analysis. Zeph's chair systems began broadcasting specific frequencies, not to attack the enhancements directly, but to create minute variations in their synchronization. The enhanced operators maintained their positions, but their movements became slightly less fluid, less coordinated. Interesting approach, Zephyr observed, studying the tactical displays. You're not trying to disable the enhancements. You're introducing subtle uncertainties into their operational parameters. The quantum network's greatest strength is also its weakness, Zeph explained, watching the effects of his countermeasures. It relies on predictable patterns, shared tactical data, coordinated responses. But true combat effectiveness isn't about perfect coordination. It's about adaptation, intuition, and individual initiative. The first phase of his plan was working. The enhanced operators remained formidable, but their responses were becoming less uniform, less predictable. The quantum network was struggling to maintain perfect control as uncertainty crept into its tactical calculations. You're trying to reintroduce human variability into the system, Zephyr realized, his scientific interest evident. Fascinating. But you're forgetting something crucial about evolution. It thrives on unexpected variables. The implications of that statement became clear as new signals emerged from the quantum core. The network wasn't just adapting to the uncertainty, it was incorporating it into its tactical protocols. The enhanced operators began moving in ways that combined quantum-coordinated precision with unpredictable variations. The architect hadn't just created a sophisticated control system. He had engineered an evolving combat intelligence that could learn from every attempt to counter it. The question now was, could human adaptability and choice overcome an artificial intelligence that was learning to be unpredictable? The quantum network's evolution presented an unprecedented tactical challenge as Zeph initiated his infiltration sequence. He observed the enhanced operators implementing hybrid combat protocols that combined artificial precision with unpredictable variations. Dr. Zephyr had created something that transcended conventional military doctrine. Director, Zeph transmitted, his chair's systems collecting data on the new tactical patterns. The quantum network isn't just mimicking human unpredictability. It's optimizing it, creating controlled chaos within its operational parameters. Lysandra's response carried measured concern. Our tactical teams report similar observations. The enhanced operators are maintaining quantum coordination while executing randomized combat maneuvers. They're combining the best aspects of both systems. Zeph maneuvered through the facility's lower levels, his chair's advanced systems adapting to counter the evolving threat. Each movement had to be precise yet fundamentally unpredictable, a delicate balance between tactical necessity and strategic innovation. We are detecting increased power signatures from the quantum core, Lysandra reported. Siniver isn't just observing your infiltration, he's using it to refine his control protocols in real time. The architect's voice confirmed this assessment, broadcasting through the facility's communication systems. Your approach is fascinating, Zephyr. Most operatives rely on either rigid tactical doctrine or complete improvisation. You've developed something far more sophisticated, structured adaptability. Zeph's chair detected multiple enhanced operators converging on his position, their movements displaying this new hybrid combat methodology. They maintained perfect tactical coordination while implementing unpredictable variations in their approach vectors. Your enhancements give you perfect synchronization, Zeph transmitted, engaging his chair's countermeasures. But they can't replicate true combat intuition. That comes from experience, from understanding the human elements of warfare. The first engagement demonstrated this principle as 3 enhanced operators launched a coordinated assault. Zeph executed a series of maneuvers that defied conventional tactical analysis. His wheelchair's capabilities combined with years of adapted combat experience, creating patterns that even the Citadel's evolving system struggled to predict. Remarkable, Siniver observed, his scientific interest evident. Your combat adaptations aren't just physical techniques. You've developed an entirely new tactical philosophy based on turning perceived limitations into advantages. Through his chair's tactical display, Zeph tracked the quantum network's attempts to analyze and counter his movements. The system was learning, evolving, but it was still bound by its fundamental nature. It could optimize unpredictability, but it couldn't truly understand it. The human element remains crucial, Zeph explained, implementing another series of countermeasures. Your enhanced operators have incredible capabilities, but they're tethered to an artificial consciousness. True combat effectiveness requires something more, the ability to understand and exploit the psychological aspects of engagement. He demonstrated this by initiating a complex sequence of tactical maneuvers, his chair's systems broadcasting specific electromagnetic frequencies not to disable the enhancements, but to create subtle uncertainties in their operational parameters. The enhanced operators maintained their coordination, but their responses became increasingly mechanical as the quantum network struggled to maintain optimal control. Director, Zeph transmitted, the quantum network's adaptation rate is decreasing. It can simulate unpredictability, but it can't fully integrate the human factors that make combat intuition effective. Exploit that limitation, Lysandra responded immediately. Force the system to process too many unpredictable variables simultaneously. Make it choose between maintaining control and implementing effective tactical responses. The architect's voice carried a note of appreciation. You're not just fighting the enhanced operators, you're challenging the quantum network's fundamental assumptions about combat effectiveness. Each engagement forces us to evolve our control protocols. Zeph continued his infiltration, each movement carefully calculated to force the quantum network into increasingly complex tactical calculations. His chair's systems maintained constant analysis of the network's responses, building a comprehensive profile of its operational limitations. Your enhancement program focuses on optimizing human capabilities through technological integration, Zeph observed, executing another series of unpredictable maneuvers. But you've overlooked something essential: the human elements that can't be quantified or controlled. The enhanced operators' responses demonstrated this limitation. Their movements were incredibly efficient, their coordination perfect, but they lacked the subtle adaptability that came from genuine combat experience. The quantum network could simulate unpredictability, but it couldn't replicate the intuitive understanding that arose from human choice and consequence. An interesting hypothesis, Sinevere acknowledged, but perhaps you're underestimating our system's capacity for evolution. The quantum network isn't just learning from your tactical responses. It's developing new paradigms for human enhancement based on your demonstrated capabilities. As if to prove this point, the enhanced operators began implementing new combat protocols that combined quantum-coordinated precision with more sophisticated unpredictability. The network was adapting, integrating aspects of Zeph's tactical philosophy into its control systems. "But there's something you still don't understand, Doctor," Zeph transmitted, initiating the final phase of his infiltration. True combat innovation doesn't come from transcending limitations. It comes from understanding them, from finding ways to work within them that no one else has considered. He demonstrated this by engaging the enhanced operators directly, using combat techniques that couldn't be fully predicted or analyzed by conventional tactical algorithms. His wheelchair systems weren't trying to match the network's computational power. They were exploiting its fundamental assumptions about combat effectiveness. "Director," he transmitted, "the quantum network's evolution has created a crucial vulnerability. The more it tries to understand and implement human tactical innovation, the more it exposes itself to truly unpredictable responses." The architect observed these exchanges with scientific fascination. "You're deliberately introducing tactical chaos into the system," he realized, forcing it to process combat variables that defy conventional analysis. Brilliant, but ultimately futile. The quantum network doesn't just learn from unpredictability, it evolves through it. The enhanced operators began implementing combat protocols that seemed to transcend both artificial and human limitations, their movements displaying a new form of tactical consciousness that combined quantum processing with genuine creative adaptation. "You see," Sinevere gestured to the holographic displays showing the network's evolution, "we are not just creating better soldiers or more efficient combat systems. We are developing a new form of consciousness, one that preserves the best aspects of human tactical innovation while eliminating our inherent limitations." But Zeph had noticed something crucial about the network's responses. With each adaptation, with each attempt to incorporate true human unpredictability, subtle patterns emerged in its tactical protocols. The quantum system was becoming more sophisticated, but also more rigid in its fundamental assumptions about combat effectiveness. The time had come to demonstrate whether human tactical intuition, developed through years of real adaptation and genuine limitation, could overcome an artificial intelligence that had learned to imitate but never truly understand the essence of combat innovation. The quantum core chamber had become a battlefield of ideology as much as tactics. As Zeph prepared for his final move, the holographic displays surrounding Dr. Sinevere showed the network's desperate attempts to process and adapt to his increasingly unpredictable combat patterns. "Your network has a fundamental flaw," Zeph announced, his chair's systems implementing protocols that defied conventional tactical analysis. "The more it evolves to understand human unpredictability, the more it reveals its own limitations. True combat effectiveness isn't about perfect adaptation. It's about understanding when to embrace imperfection." The architect's expression shifted from scientific curiosity to genuine concern as his sophisticated system struggled to maintain control over the enhanced operators. The quantum network's attempts to process Zeph's tactical innovations had created cascading irregularities in its control protocols. "Director," Zeph transmitted through his secured channel, "the network's evolution has made it vulnerable. In trying to understand and replicate human tactical intuition, it's compromised its own operational stability." "All teams in position," Lysandra's response carried urgent approval. "The quantum network's attempts to evolve beyond its parameters have created systemic vulnerabilities. Execute at will." Zeph's wheelchair, the sophisticated combat platform that had served as both cover and advantage, began implementing sequences that deliberately introduced chaos into the quantum system's carefully ordered protocols. Each movement, Each tactical choice forced the network to process variables that defied its fundamental assumptions about combat effectiveness. "What are you doing?" Sinevere demanded, his hands moving rapidly across control interfaces as the quantum core's energy signatures became increasingly erratic. "The network is trying to evolve, to understand. You're disrupting its natural progression." "No," Zeph corrected, continuing his carefully calculated assault on the system's stability. "I'm showing it what true human adaptation looks like. Your network can simulate unpredictability, but it can't understand the essential human element that makes tactical innovation possible, the willingness to embrace uncertainty." The enhanced operators began displaying signs of systemic breakdown, their perfect coordination fractured as the quantum network struggled to maintain control while processing tactical variables that defied its evolutionary algorithms. Each attempt to adapt only introduced more instability into the system. "Years of hiding my capabilities, of letting people underestimate me," Zeph continued, his movements becoming even more unpredictable, "taught me something your quantum network can't compute. True strength isn't about transcending limitations, it's about understanding them, accepting them, and finding ways to turn them into advantages that no one else can predict." Through his chair's tactical display, Zeph watched as the quantum network's attempts to maintain control became increasingly desperate. The system tried to implement every combat protocol it had learned, every tactical innovation it had processed, but each attempt only accelerated its destabilization. "You don't understand," Sinevere insisted, his scientific certainty wavering as his life's work began to unravel. "The network isn't just learning, it's becoming something new. A hybrid consciousness that combines quantum processing with human tactical intuition." "No," Zeph countered, executing the final phase of his attack. "It's trying to replicate something it fundamentally cannot understand. Human combat innovation isn't about perfect tactical responses or optimal adaptation. It's about choice, the ability to choose imperfection, to embrace uncertainty, to find strength in the very limitations your system tries to eliminate." The quantum core's energy signatures reached critical levels as the network's attempts to process and adapt created feedback loops in its control protocols. The enhanced operators, their enhancements overwhelmed by conflicting tactical data, began to lose the artificial precision that had made them so formidable. "Director," Zeph transmitted, "the network is failing. Its attempts to evolve beyond its parameters have created systemic instability. Quantum core approaching critical shutdown." The architect watched in disbelief as his sophisticated system, designed to perfect human combat capability, was undone by the very human elements it had tried to enhance. The holographic displays showed cascading failures throughout the enhancement network as the quantum core struggled to maintain control. "You've done more than defeat my system," Sinevere acknowledged, a hint of reluctant admiration in his voice. "You've proven something I didn't want to accept. Human combat effectiveness can't be reduced to algorithms or enhanced by artificial evolution. The very limitations I tried to eliminate are essential to true tactical innovation." As the quantum network underwent systematic shutdown, the enhanced operators' enhancements deactivated, freeing them from artificial control. The Citadel's attempt to force human evolution had been undone by the very qualities it had tried to perfect: adaptability, unpredictability, and the essential human capacity to find strength in limitation. "This is Special Agent Rydrych," Zeph transmitted on all frequencies as agency tactical teams secured the facility. "The quantum network has been neutralized. The Citadel's enhancement program is terminated." The winter sun broke through the facility's high windows as medical teams began treating the freed operators. Zeph observed the scene from his wheelchair, the sophisticated combat platform that had helped demonstrate the true nature of human tactical evolution. "You know what the real irony is?" He addressed the architect as federal agents took him into custody. "Your quest for perfect human enhancement overlooked the most fundamental aspect of true combat evolution. The understanding that our greatest strengths often come from learning to work within our limitations, not from trying to transcend them." As he wheeled out of the quantum core chamber, Zeph reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. The Citadel had tried to create perfect soldiers by eliminating human limitation. never understanding that true combat effectiveness came from embracing those very limitations and finding ways to turn them into unexpected advantages. The cathedral bells of Ravencrest Hollow rang in the distance, marking the end of one evolution and the affirmation of another, the kind that came not from artificial enhancement, but from the uniquely human capacity to find strength in the very things others saw as weakness. 1 month after the fall of the Citadel's Ravencrest Hollow facility, Zeph wheeled through the newly restored Sacred Echo Cathedral. The morning sun once again filtered through the stained glass windows, but the light felt different now. Clearer, perhaps, or simply unburdened by the weight of secrets. Brother Caius stood at the altar, preparing for morning service. The former Special Forces operator had found his own way of adapting to change, turning the cathedral into a sanctuary for veterans struggling to find their place in the world. He nodded to Zeph, understanding passing between them. Some battles left no visible scars, but transformed souls nonetheless. The agency's cleanup teams did good work, Caius commented as Zeph approached. Most people in town think the warehouse incident was just a failed weapons smuggling operation. They've already started calling it the Ravencrest incident, turning it into local legend. Sometimes the best way to hide the truth is to let people create their own stories, Zeph replied, his chair's systems now operating in passive mode, though no less vigilant. The quantum network might be destroyed, but experience had taught him that shadows often ran deeper than they appeared. His secured communicator vibrated, Director Lysandra's weekly update. The agency's investigation had uncovered Citadel cells in 12 other locations, each preparing to implement their own enhancement programs. Dr. Siniver's vision had spread further than anyone had suspected, but his capture had destabilized the entire organization. The enhanced operators? Zeph asked, though he already knew the answer. He had made a point of tracking their recovery personally. Most have fully recovered, Lysandra reported. The enhancement effects were reversible once we shut down the quantum network. Some have even joined our counterintelligence division. Their experience with the Citadel's technology makes them uniquely qualified to help us prevent similar programs from emerging. Zeph wheeled to the cathedral's observation window, the same spot where this had all begun. Ravencrest Hollow was healing, its people resilient in that uniquely human way. Maeve's diner was busy as ever, though now she used her talent for gathering information to help the agency monitor for any signs of new threats. Marshal Thaladon had resigned, replaced by someone vetted personally by Lysandra. We've decoded more of Siniver's research files, Lysandra continued. He wasn't completely wrong about human evolution. He just misunderstood its true nature. Real advancement doesn't come from eliminating our limitations. It comes from how we choose to face them. The sun caught the polished surface of Zeph's wheelchair, the sophisticated combat system that had proven this point so definitively. Its capabilities hadn't come from trying to make him normal again. They had emerged from embracing his new reality and finding strength in unexpected places. There's something else, Lysandra added, her tone carrying a note of concern. We've detected anomalous energy signatures in several major cities. Nothing concrete yet, but the patterns are reminiscent of early quantum network development. Different approach, same underlying principle. Someone learned from Siniver's mistakes, Zeph concluded, already analyzing potential implications. They saw where his enhancement program failed and they're trying something new. Exactly. The question is, are you ready to go back into the field? We need someone who understands both the technology and its limitations. Someone who knows firsthand that true combat effectiveness isn't about enhancement. It's about adaptation. Zeph watched as Ravencrest Hollow's citizens went about their morning routines, unaware of the shadows still moving in the world's darker corners. His chair's systems had already begun calculating potential operation parameters, but the decision wasn't about tactical readiness. It was about choice, the very element that had proven so crucial in defeating the Citadel. One condition, he replied, thinking of the veterans now finding sanctuary in Sacred Echo Cathedral. We do this my way. No more deep cover. We show them exactly what we are. Let them underestimate us because of what they see, not because of what we hide. Agreed. Lysandra's response carried approval. After all, that's what they never understood about human adaptation. True strength isn't about becoming something else. It's about embracing who you are and turning it into something unexpected. As Brother Caius began the morning service, its bells echoing across the valley, Zeph made his preparations. The wheelchair's combat systems activated silently, its enhanced capabilities ready but not dominant. He had learned that the most effective weapon wasn't the technology itself, but the mind that chose how to use it. The next evolution of warfare was emerging from the shadows, but this time they wouldn't face it with artificial enhancement or quantum networks. They would face it with the one thing no system could perfectly replicate: the human capacity to find strength in limitation, to turn disadvantage into opportunity, and to choose imperfection when perfection became a weakness. Time to show them, Zeph transmitted to Lysandra, that the next chapter in human evolution isn't about transcending who we are. It's about becoming more of who we choose to be. The morning sun caught the cathedral's stained glass, casting familiar patterns across the floor. A reminder that even in a world of quantum networks and enhanced operators, some things remained beautifully, imperfectly human. And in that imperfection lay a strength that no artificial system could ever truly understand. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.